Good evening, everyone. We are just waiting to get more participants before we officially start our webinar this evening. Assalamu alaikum. If you could just bear with us for a few more moments to get more numbers before we officially start. We're getting more numbers as we speak. I'll just give it another minute and then we'll start officially. We just got a comment saying that the old link sent by email doesn't work at all. For the control room, is there anything that we can do about that? Thank you. Okay, I believe we're ready to start now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. And thank you for joining us this evening to the Global Women Virtual Fashion Forum and Show. This event is very special because it talks about women empowerment, the empowerment of entrepreneurship, the empowerment of civil society, the empowerment of fashion for good, and the power of strong philanthropist women to come together to try to solve issues and challenges post-COVID-19. We would like to thank Medpoint Design and the Nain Training Center for helping organize the whole event. And I would like to remind everyone that the forum and show dates are they have started from the 12th and they will continue until the 19th of July with many eventful panels and webinars and fashion shows and talks around design and entrepreneurship. Next. I would like to take you through our agenda for this evening. We will have a panel that is focused on the role of UNICEF when it comes to gender diversity and gender issues globally and regionally. And then we will have a fireside chat between myself and Ms. Inji Shalhoub around her journey and her success, and with then closing remarks, and we will then be directed to a YouTube link for the fashion show focusing on Ms. Inji Shalhoub's designs. Now, just a few remarks and a few housekeeping notes, please. After the panel, I will entertain a few Q&As. So you can either send me your questions on the chat or on the Q&A. If you have any issues admin-wise or housekeeping, send them on the chat. If you have any questions or comments, please direct your questions and comments to the Q&A. And if you have a specific speaker you have a question for, please let us know. Before we start, I would like to introduce His Excellency Mr. Al-Tayyib Adam, UNICEF Gulf representative, to honor us with your opening remarks. Good evening.
Good evening, Miriam, and good evening all those who are participating and taking part in this important forum. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be part of this Global Women Virtual Forum and Fashion Show. And on behalf of UNICEF and on behalf of UNICEF Gulf Area Office, I would like to thank Sheikh Noura for organizing the forum. I think it's incredible. I think when I look at it, it's 8 days online forum. So that's remarkable achievement, and it's important also for women empowerment and development, important issues there. So really thank you so much, Sheikh Noura, but also take the opportunity really to thank you, Mariam Faraj, and to thank also Inji for your support to UNICEF work. You kind of very much grateful to have such a strong, female leaders championing child rights issues and providing support to UNICEF to be able to reach the most vulnerable children in the region and also globally. And also I just take the opportunity to thank my colleagues from the regional office, Dr. Shogo Jalal and also It Ignis, for joining and being able to come and also present UNICEF important work on gender and women empowerment. And both of them are very expert in their field, and they have seen how women have been affected during this COVID-19 situation. So I think hopefully they will give you a very good insight in terms of women and gender empowerment. Women development and women empowerment is key for eliminating gender disparities and for achieving sustainable development goals. Again, women development, women empowerment reflects positively on the life of children in all aspects, in aspects of physical development, psychosocial development, cognitive development. It's important. So that's also for us. I think it's really an important issue, and I think being able to empower women, to develop them, looking at the whole issues of economic empowerment of women, entrepreneur development of women, it's important, which can have a lasting and powerful impact on the children's rights. So I'm really very happy today here, but also very happy to see that UNICEF is engaged in these important discussions, and as well as to see that support UNICEF is receiving, from you there, Mariam, and all the colleagues there, and also for this forum, in terms of being able to support children and to make sure that no one is left behind, especially now during this COVID-19 situation. So really great pleasure, and I really appreciate to be here with you, and I very much wish you a successful, interesting discussion today, and we look forward for a continued support to UNICEF work. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Al-Tayyib Adam, for your kind words and warm wishes. As one of the founding members of the UNICEF Leadership Circle for the Gulf region, I would like to just really point out that the Leadership Circle has been quite active for the past 2 years and still ongoing. In fact, today's event or tonight's event is really one great example of the so many efforts that the Leadership Circle with its members have organized over the past 2 years in support of UNICEF operations, not just on a regional level, but on a global level when it comes to its mission and fighting for the rights of children and women around the world. Of course, if we're talking about the Leadership Circle, I would like to extend a warm welcome, but also a big thank you to Her Excellency Sheikha Noura bint Khalifa Al Khalifa, Chairwoman and CEO of Medpoint Design, Bahrain. Honestly, Sheikha Noura really inspires me a lot. I was moderating another panel with her being as a panelist last week. And whenever we're talking about women empowerment, whenever we're talking about gender diversity and gender equality and helping out and philanthropy and entrepreneurship, Sheikha Noura's name just pops out. She has never ceased to extend a hand to UNICEF and many other organizations that are really helping make the world a better place, but also advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. So without further ado, I would like to thank you, Sheikha Noura, for another beautiful event and for bringing us all together to really advance the agenda of UNICEF around the world. And I leave you with your opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mariam. And it's always a pleasure doing panels with you over and over. At the beginning, I would like to send my regards to UNICEF. I would like to thank them because I truly believe that abundance comes with giving. And especially during this COVID time, we cannot be blessed without thinking of other people. As a woman myself, I know what's the suffering or the pain that other women is feeling. So we come from a nature of giving, and I will dedicate my whole energy and my whole skills and whatever I have to support and to share the awareness of UNICEF and what UNICEF are doing worldwide. I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Tayyib, Ms. Dipali, and all our guest speakers for today, and especially our amazing leadership circuit member, you, Ms. Mariam, and Ms. Angie, for being part of the Global Women Fashion Week, which is from 12th to 19th. This day is a very special day for me because I would consider it the blessing of the full 8 days. And not only for the full 8 days, I would believe that if I would like to do any kind of event, I always need the blessing from God, and it cannot happen without sharing with other people. And there where I believe on UNICEF, and I'm grateful. I thank God every day that I'm being part of this amazing group as a leadership circuit member. And I thank God every day because I know that God has removed a lot of negativity from my life just by the positivity that I can get, by the hope that we see, by the sharing or whatever we try to do. And I know it's hard. Sometimes it takes a lot of time just to achieve 1 or 2 goals from our ends, but we can always try. We can share awareness. We can share the goals of UNICEF, and we can always share the website of UNICEF and to ask people to contribute and to see how they can contribute. And these days, there is a lot of bad things around the world. People doesn't know where to contribute and to contribute with whom, and does it goes to the right people or no. But I believe since I went with UNICEF on Zatari camp, definitely, Al-Azraq camp, definitely we know that we can do a lot of difference with a lot of girls, that they have hopes and dreams, and we can definitely be part of that. So if you just allow me to show you that picture, when we went to Al-Azraq camp, if you see the slides, all of us as a leadership circuit member, we went to Al-Azraq camp, and then we went to an academy that they're supporting a lot of refugees to be fashion designers. And we were just standing over there. Me and Miss Angie and Miss Jessica are all have part of on fashion industry. So all of us, we were thinking like, how can we support these amazing girls, which is talented and they have a lot of things to share. Although with all the bad things that happen in their life, still they have a lot of hopes. So Miss Angie was saying, definitely I can do something through her line of business. And here today she is trying to give, and not only here, she was doing a lot of amazing things with UNICEF just to serve all these small fashion designers on the camp. Jessica was saying like, okay, I have an amazing platform. How can I help all these girls? And I believe you, Ms. Mariam, as leadership circuit, you were saying, okay, I am an amazing moderator with MBC Group. How can I help them by spreading the word? And myself as an event management, I say, okay, how can I add UNICEF goals through my work to help the awareness of UNICEF? So all of us have a different skills that we can definitely contribute in our way. And I believe we should say that to others, because maybe others will say, okay, maybe UNICEF, it's only about the money, and for you to contribute, but there's different way to do it through your work. If you have a connection, maybe you can help your connection to donate. If you have a skills, maybe through your skills can give, because giving, it's not only in terms of money, it's also in terms of skills and blessing that we have all around the world. So thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this positive panel, and I hope through my connection and through my work that I can help UNICEF more and more.
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sheikha Noura, for your very genuine speech, and it's I know it's coming from the heart, and it's when it's real, it shows. It shows on your face, it shows in the heart, and like you mentioned, there's so many ways that we can, and others. It's not just about the money, it's about the effort, it's about the skills, it's about the knowledge, it's about the time. When you give your time for people, this is valuable, this is priceless. While we're talking about leadership circles, I would just like to announce and welcome UNICEF's Women's Leadership Circle of KSA, which was formed just a few months ago. So I believe the leadership circle is growing bit by bit and step by step, and it's only just has begun, because there's always hope when you have a group of leaders that just want to help and just want to act on challenges, and they're constantly saying, how can I help? How can I be of benefit? How can I be of use? It's wonderful to see. So hopefully, inshallah, UNICEF will expand more and more leadership circles around the region and around the world. Now we will move to our next discussion and our next panel. It's UNICEF panel discussion, and really the reason why we're having this panel, it's because we are talking today about women advancement, women empowerment. We're talking about gender equality. We're talking about diversity and inclusion. We're talking about girls' education, access to quality education. We're talking about financial independence. We're talking about so many things, but mainly we're talking about giving them a voice and giving them an opportunity to have an equal not just an equal life, but a life to be fulfilled and to have a purpose. I would like to welcome my panelists this evening, UNICEF, Dr. Shubu Jalal, Regional Gender Advisor, and Ms. Iti Higgins, Deputy Representative for UNICEF Jordan. Welcome, and thank you very much for being with us tonight. I will not go through the bios. As you can see, they have very rich and strong backgrounds, but I will really jump to the point with Dr. Jalal, and I will ask you, Dr. Jalal, how do you see your role as a gender advisor? Why was this role created? And can you tell us a little bit about the work that you have been doing for the past 35 years on international and national levels, specifically with clinical medicine and healthcare and the well-being of women in general all around the world?
Thank you very much, Ms. Mariam, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to join this panel and contribute to this important event that's holding in this region and globally. UNICEF work on gender equality and empowerment of girls and women is grounded through the Convention of the Rights of the Children and conventions on elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. UNICEF believes in women empowerment and believes in equal rights of both for boys and girls. In the strategic plan that UNICEF globally leads, there are 5 goal areas. The first one focuses on every child having access to health and nutrition. And the second goal is around education. Third goal is around protection from violence. Fourth goal is around safe environment. And fifth goal is around equitable chance for every child. And these goals have been put there to address a lot of the vulnerabilities that boys and girls face globally. And although there has been some progress, recognized and considerable progress in development outcomes over the past year, there are still more vulnerabilities facing boys and girls, especially in rural areas, especially in hard-to-reach areas, especially in areas where the children are hit by the conflict. So UNICEF Gender Action Plan was developed to ensure that the roadmap for the UNICEF strategic plan. There is a gender action plan that matches and aligns to the strategic plan through the 5 goal areas. And through that gender action plan, UNICEF calls for a twin approach. So while you are focusing on all vulnerabilities across the sectors, for example, if there is equality maternal health, if there is access and retention of education for boys and girls, if there are issues related to protection of GBV, harmful practices, child marriage, female genital mutilation. So all of these elements has come, and UNICEF focuses in a program to address those specific needs, matching boys and girls. So for example, in areas in the region, we have some countries where boys are out of school, and in some countries where girls are out of school. So UNICEF calls for equitable approaches and ensure additional measures to address those vulnerabilities. However, the Gender Action Plan, in addition to the integrated approach across all the pillars, all the goal area, calls for a specific targeted programs for the well-being and empowerment of the girl child. This is because there's globally chronic vulnerability that girls and women face that need specific measures to address them. Those 5 areas include adolescent health and nutrition. As you know, many of the girls in the globally and in the region have a high adolescent birth rate, and that poses risks to the mother, the adolescent mother, in terms of maternal mortality, but also in terms of the lifetime morbidity that may affect her. The second area is around girls' secondary education and STEM. And in this one, while over the past decades, there has been a lot of work globally around primary education, and in the region, we've almost achieved 97% universal primary enrollment in the primary education. The transition from primary to secondary has not been as progressive as it is, and hence UNICEF focuses on secondary education, but also adds the element of skills, STEM, which is science, technology, and the skills, because right now, when you, it's not only enough to get the education degrees, but it is how the education skills and learning outcome have helped the girls to actually move into the transfer into the employment and economic spheres. And this is really an important area where UNICEF is focusing. And I think this event is also in line with that, focusing on those areas. And I'll come back to some of the examples from what we are doing in the region and some of the challenges as well. The other 3 areas that UNICEF focuses on is the child marriage. And in the region, we have in some countries, in Sudan, in Yemen, almost 1/3 of the girls are getting married before the age of 18. And in Yemen, given the current context, in some districts and some governorates, it's actually reaching 70%. So it's a big issue affecting the girls and imposing challenges for the girls to achieve her potentials in life. The other one is menstrual health and hygiene, where many of the girls have no access to dignified wash facilities, water sanitation facilities, or equipment that help them to pass through the menstrual period with dignity and without dropping out from school. So 5 targeted priorities that UNICEF focusing on. And as I mentioned, the education and skill is really getting more attention within the Generation Unlimited agenda right now, within the Generation Equality agenda. And this year is the year for generation equality, and UNICEF is in line in collaboration with all the partners to achieve those six generation equality agenda. One of them is definitely the education and the skills and economic empowerment of girls. So within the region, there are several challenges for that. Limited mobility is one challenge. In many countries, we feel we see that there is a limited opportunity for girls even to move out of the house unless they are accompanied by chaperone, or if they are some of them are prevented due to insecurity. Some of them are prevented because of the harassment they are facing at the street. So limited opportunities by limited movement makes them less able to contribute to development and even access the basic education or even work environment. The other thing is the culture in this region. The burden of the household chores is on the girls in the region. We have more girls spending more time on household chores that prevent them from actually achieving their education outcomes and affecting their even afterwards, after education, how they are moving forward in their life. And one thing important is in this region is also the lack of opportunity of participation and volunteerism that does not give the right empowerment for the girls and opportunities for empowerment for girls to move and benefit from those opportunities to move in their lives. The limited access to technology is another challenge. We have seen this right now in the COVID response, where we're promoting the distance learning, and there is a big gap, gender divide in terms of accessing the technology, in terms of using, and even digital literacy, which is a big gap for boys and girls, of course, but mostly girls are most affected by this challenge. The other challenge is that we see in the region. While the girls continue secondary education and tertiary education, then there is the gap in the job environment. There is a gap in economic opportunities, and unemployment in this region is really high, one of the highest in the global, especially for the young girls. So that gap is based on discriminatory roles, sometimes because policies are not supportive, conducive enough to enable the adult young girls to move into employment opportunities. There is a limitation of some jobs that they can join, and there is a lack of policies related to how the work space in terms of sexual harassment and other things affect continuity of being engaged in work environment. So there are several challenges that that require actually UNICEF and other partners. This is not something that only UNICEF can achieve, and that's why UNICEF's work in gender equality is to work with other partners, and certainly this circle is one of the partners that we can work with. We have several examples of how we want to move through education platforms. We have developed a regional skills, life skill and citizenship education program that is now endorsed by many of the ministries of education that adds the skills part to the education. We have also, via alternative pathways, UNICEF regional offices is supporting several countries in the region to develop opportunities for engagement and the skills building through different platforms in addition to the education. So, for example, we have a big a project in Egypt where we are focusing on digital literacy and financial literacy for the girls, specifically in most vulnerable areas, linking it to social norms in areas where there is FGM. This has been widely accepted by the government, and now we have more than 15 partners in UNICEF Egypt partnering with UNICEF Egypt to support that particular program. We have models online. We have even built on these platforms to address some of the COVID challenges that we are currently facing. There are several other examples. I don't know if you want me to go on with some more examples, or you want me to.
Thank you, Dr. Shobo. I think you've given us a very thorough helicopter view, if you want, on your role. but particularly on how, you know, the gender issues and challenges that young girls and young females and women in general globally are facing. I mean, it seems like we're facing so many challenges. It seems like, you know, with all of these obstacles, there isn't a light at the end of the tunnel, if you want, but there is. And with all of these challenges and all of these issues, from health, from well-being, to education, to lack of education, lack of skills, and when there is no education, no skills, then you tend to stay home. There's no future of employment, and with the high rates of employment, so the list is endless, really, where girls and women find themselves in a corner trying to fight constantly for their rights to have a constructive role in socioeconomic development. However, with all that has been said, and I really thank you because you've laid it out so beautifully, all of them together related to each other. There are programs and there are projects on ground that UNICEF, with their partners, have built and developed and have executed, and they have been going on for years. And these are the results of partnership and Goal 17. If I were to ask Iti to hear more about, definitely what Dr. Shubo has spoken of are all the challenges and the mapping all the problems that we have and the issues that we have. But can you tell us a little bit more from your own role on ground, what's happening with, and just a few examples on UNICEF projects in Jordan, and maybe zoom in a little bit on one of the camps and with the host communities. I want to know more about what UNICEF is doing to advance women and girls' roles in society.
Thank you so much, Mariam, and thank you so much to all of the amazing leadership panel that has organized this event this evening, and a special thanks to Her Excellency Sheikha Noura as well, who visited us here recently. So I've been the Deputy Rep for UNICEF in Jordan since early 2016. And I've had the honor of having some of the panel members to visit as well. And so this evening I'm going to talk about some of the programs that some of you may be familiar with, but I'd like to talk a little bit about how UNICEF is also supporting women and girls in Jordan who've been drastically affected by COVID-19. And I think this is something that we can't ignore, and it's affected all of us globally. But before I talk about that, I'd just like to say that unfortunately, Jordan was already starting from a very low base when it comes to women and girls and gender equality. According to the Global Gender Gap report for 2020, Jordan is 138th. This is pre-COVID. Out of 153 countries for global gender equality. It is 145th ranking in economic participation and opportunity. So that will give you an idea of how far we have to go here and how crucial your support is as well. So as was mentioned by Sheikha Noura, your skills and your resources, but most of all your energy and enthusiasm really makes a huge difference to help us to do a better job here as well. So this evening, we're going to have a few pictures of some of the women and girls that we work with. But I would just like to mention that the disruption caused by COVID-19, I won't go through in great detail the negative impact, but just to give you some of the key highlights, as Dr. Shobu mentioned, it's given us huge challenges in terms of increase in violence against women and girls. It's seen a lot of women as well who have been made unemployed, and it's also seen a lot of the pre-existing vulnerabilities have been further exacerbated. So we're seeing gender-based violence. Girls and women can't go to school, they can't access their technical and vocational training, and we're seeing altogether, with young women in particular, a disproportionate effect on them. They're seeing what the International Labour Organization has called a triple shock. So this means, in reality, it means they're losing their jobs, they have difficulty in securing new jobs, and they have disruptions in their learning. So it could actually take an entire generation to recover from the impact of COVID unless we act very quickly now. So as UNICEF Jordan, we have had how can I put it, a no regrets policy. So whatever resources we have, we've put at this crisis. We have particularly focused in on taking COVID, doing the initial program response in responding to the humanitarian crisis by increasing our cash assistance and targeting female-headed households because they're the most vulnerable. We've targeted young mothers as well, maybe who have left school early and who maybe in their late teens and have 1, 2 or 3 children already. And we've supported them with case management and psychosocial support to help them to get back to some form of learning and to help provide them with some form of income. So one example I'd like to talk about is that we now have over 400 women who are full-time employed in making non-medical face masks through different social enterprises. We've supported existing entrepreneurs who are already in the garment industry who may have seen their international orders cancelled or delayed by 6 or 12 months. Because of the crisis. So we're now actually today started to distribute these non-medical face masks in host communities and in Zaatari and Azraq camp. So we'll be distributing thousands, hundreds of thousands more of these masks in the weeks and months ahead. And we've also put in new special orders as well for these garment enterprises and fashion enterprises, some of which were mentioned earlier, to make winter clothing kits for distribution to vulnerable households. So across our program, we're taking a full cycle approach so that we can support these women and girls to get through this very, very difficult time. I think as well that COVID, the disruption caused by COVID is really giving us an opportunity to accelerate progress in some areas for children and youth. And one of these areas in particular is the digital upskilling and financial literacy for young women. So we recently finalized the development of a new financial literacy curriculum, which is targeting children starting from the ages of 14 and upwards, with a specific focus on girls, to help them on understanding, so financial literacy, the basic concepts, and understanding how money can work for them, how they should be empowered to take care of their own resources, their own money at a household level. And then by the time they transition to adulthood, they get their first job, they know how to manage the money. It gives them confidence that they don't hand over their earnings to men in the household, to their brothers or fathers or husbands. And research has shown that it's much more likely then that they will put their salaries and their wages and whatever resources they can muster into their own families, into their own children's education, and those children then are more likely to stay in education. So the digital upskilling as well is something that we've launched in both the camps and in the host communities. And what does this actually mean? You'll see that we launched a pilot program since 2019, which has now benefited over 1,000 people, where youth receive basic digital skills and advanced digital skills, and apprenticeships then after that, and links to employers where they can work fully in the digital economy. But the beauty about this is that they can, even if they're from a conservative area and they have difficulty leaving their homes for the reasons outlined by Dr. Shobu, then they can actually work from home wherever they are. We have some young women who are working in the host community who are working from home. They're managing small children, but they sometimes have contracts with companies in the Gulf and across the world who are very, very skilled. So we really want to help these young women to have the digital skills to have them ready for the workplace. So maybe we can go through some of the photos. I think you've seen enough of my bio up there, so we can go through some of the pictures that I shared earlier, and I'd just like to introduce you to some of these girls. So these two young ladies in particular are actually in Zatari camp, and they have done an amazing job by and it's just one example that we had a startup Zatari, and they're showing their invention in Zatari. So the reason I'm showing you this is to share with you some of our programs where we're inspiring women and girls with access to technologies, to innovative ideas, even with the basic items that are around them, to look for new solutions to problems within their communities. And so moving to the next slide, I'd like to highlight this very, very special young lady. Sorry, it's actually one back again. Her name is Bodur. Yes, there she is, exactly. So this is Bodur. She's actually in the Azraq camp, and she graduated after school and remedial education support from UNICEF. She came from Syria. She's a Syrian refugee. And she has benefited from UNICEF's programs over the last 7 or 8 years since she arrived in 2013. And she's actually studying now renewable energy engineering in a university in Zarqa, where she travels every day from the refugee camp. And I'd like to read you a quote that she said. She said, "In our community, boys and girls are not treated equally, but there should be equality between boys and girls because there's no difference between us. I have a brain just like any boy. I can think, I can create, I can be whatever I want to be, just like a boy." So it's a very simple quote, but I think it says a lot, and it says the pathway that she's travelled with support of our programs and the other partners that we work with, to show them that even if they are locked in a refugee camp in the middle of the desert, as they are, and some of them, for example, have never seen a tunnel before, a traffic tunnel, they've never seen a multi-story building, just even simple things like this, for her to make that concept real in her head, and to bring the outside world to her where she is, and tell her that she is a valuable person and she has an amazing future ahead of her, was really, really something very powerful. So I think Bodur, she's since had, she wants to be an astronaut, and she in Syria, she never saw the stars because they had a lot of electricity, but now she's in the refugee camp, and so saw the stars at night, and because they had no electricity in the camp initially, and this led her to wonder about the galaxies beyond our own. So she's actually one of the leading kind of scientists in the camp now. She has her own telescope that all the other girls come and use as well, and she is a change maker in her own right. She actually has a lot of managed to gather other girls who, some of whom were married at 16, 17, and she's managed to bring them back to education as well. So this is an example just of some of the many girls that we work with. They're a very inspiring story. So maybe we can just quickly move to the next slide. I won't go through all of these amazing girls because there's a lot of them. This is actually Farah, who's studying digital skills in one of our Makani community centres in Azraq, and who said, "I want to learn everything related to computers." So she's really not ashamed to be quite a nerd when it comes to computers, and is doing very well on learning free learning courses online that many kids in other wealthier parts of the world take for granted. But she, as soon as the doors are open in our community centre, she is there and ready to go. So very, very inspiring. So maybe I can just talk through some of our other skills, and we can our other slides, and we can work through the different photos. I'd like to talk about another girl in the next slide. She's also studying the, yes, here we go. Yeah, that's exactly the one that I wanted to talk about. So this place where she's staying, her name is Balkis, and she's 22. She's Jordanian. You can see by her beautiful outfit, she's wearing traditional clothes here. so she's in Beit Souf. So this is an old house that was basically renovated by UNICEF. It was started by Balkis and the ladies who were a bit shy sitting behind her. And it was basically like a productive kitchen. So we've supported them to turn this Beit Souf into a functioning social enterprise. Now, one of the ladies behind her who's not in the camera, we spoke to her. She's in her 40s, and she told us about how she used to be subjected to quite a lot of domestic violence in the past from her husband. But when she started working with the UNICEF supported social enterprise, that in fact she was bringing home a salary, and her husband saw her with new eyes because she was suddenly economically engaged and had a sizable contribution to the household. So he had to really, this newfound respect, he was forced to stop, you know, the domestic violence, and she's obviously still traumatized from that, and does, you know, has residual trauma from that. But her husband is really now treating her with a whole new respect for the work that she does every day. She hosts maybe 30, her and her team in the social enterprise in Beit Souf host maybe 30 or 40 visitors pre-COVID from all around the world. These tourists come. And now actually, even with COVID and this slow reopening here, we have a lot of Jordanian visitors who are going to taste their amazing food. They make 50 or 60 types of jam. They're extremely entrepreneurial, extremely innovative, and it's women like this, just an example that we want to support. So I just want to read you a quote, because unfortunately it's a bit late here, so we don't have some of, and we're stuck for time, but some of the amazing quotes. She said, "We are eager and excited, and we have hope like we never had before." She said that we just needed someone to back us up and support us. So I think that really does kind of sum up some of the work that UNICEF does. I haven't gone into all the technical areas and technical programs that we do, but I mean, I'm happy to go through them in more detail. But what I want to end with is saying that really the COVID is giving us an opportunity to reimagine what the world could be like if we really actively and engage women and have programs and economies and countries that are responsive to the needs of women and girls. And we've seen many media articles about how countries that are led by women during COVID-19 have done far better than many others. We've seen how they've suppressed the virus quickly. They've reacted with very innovative social programs to make sure that the most vulnerable in their communities were protected. So I think this is really how we can reimagine how we can emerge from the pandemic in all of its different dimensions, and that if we recognize that girls and women are not just victims of a broken world, but they can actually be architects of a much better one, then I think the world will be a better place. So I'll wrap it up from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Etty. It's so inspiring and so optimistic and hopeful and encouraging, because to know that, yes, definitely that we will continue to have challenges and we will continue to have problems. Problems will always, you know, be part of our life, because this is what life is all about. And perhaps maybe the challenges open up to new opportunities, but to see what UNICEF is doing and to see all these successful, beautiful stories of young girls and women really taking charge of their own future and making a difference and saying, I will not, you know, I will not be submissive. I will not be a victim. I will rise above my situation and I will be resilient. It's giving all of us so much hope, but it makes me wonder the role of the private sector and the role of partners and the role of other players and other key players within the community. How can we briefly, from your point of view and from Dr. Shobo's point of view, how can we push harder and advance even stronger the agenda to have more women like the lady that you just mentioned right now. I didn't get to catch her name, but financial independence is key. You know, I would prefer if her husband were not, using domestic violence on her, whether she was financially independent or not, because, you know, this is not really a measurement. He has to be a good husband and a protective husband no matter what. But the fact that when you're financially independent, it gives you a strong stance at home. It makes you have a choice to choose your life. And unfortunately, a lot of women in this remain in very abusive relationships and very abusive homes just because they cannot afford to take their children and get out. How can the private sector help advance your projects and create millions of those wonderful girls? And I'm sure philanthropy as well and individual funding also plays a big part. And I think we have a lot of audience now on our panel that could benefit from these actions and from. Whether it's Dr. Shubu or Iti, please go ahead. You're mute.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think you brought a very important question. How can we do more, and how can we actually achieve better for the girls in this region? And I think having this kind of collaboration between all key actors is really important. And that's why we're trying to link with the circle of leaders. We're trying to link with other stakeholders in this region. We're trying to build the advocacy component in a way that actually not only for the right perspective, but also for the development perspective, we need to focus on those elements. So it's not, we're not only fulfilling the right of the girls, but we are also contributing to the economic development in this region. But the main thing I also think is that when you target the communities and you make the ownership from the community and you build on the cultural values and the cultural norms that we can act, there are several positive norms and we can build on those one, and we can actually strengthen our focus in terms of engaging the communities. And we have seen some progress actually. There is in Sudan, for example, in the field of FGM, there is a lot of communities now coming together and by leaders from the community saying no to female genital mutilation. So there is several examples where the communities has actually taken the role of advocating for the issue, and that has a sustainable effect in terms of long lasting. So while we're working on policies in one aspect, while we're working on our services, while we're working on opportunities, I think the community is really an important factor that we need to figure in. And I also take your point, and in terms of the private sector, very important. Right now, job security, job opportunity is nothing to be done only by some few actors. It's the role of the private sector now to lead and to provide opportunities. And we actually had last year, we had a request from Tele-Oman Communication to come and to tell for UNICEF to support them in developing their gender equality social responsibility. So now we're seeing more and more of the private sector coming forwards to look into how they can do that. And we're there to support, and we really encourage all this collaboration for the COVID response. Several countries in the region, the telecommunication were really active in accessing free and access to internet. So that's a role that they can play by affordable access to internet, by securing opportunities, and by actually advocating with other actors for more conducive work environment that attracts more females to get enrolled in that one. That's from
Absolutely.
My side. I think.
Dr. Shubu, you've really touched on a very important element, which is in-kind assistance. Because a lot of the companies now and a lot of the corporations and private sector really shy away from monetary funding. But they prefer, and I believe with post-COVID-19 and the economic situation is hard on everyone. But there is a way of contributing, which is in kind, which is skill, transformation, knowledge giving, using your staff and your resources, your human resources internally to help. Using your resources as a business, as you mentioned, telecommunication companies can actually give discounted access or even free access for all communities in order to continue their online education and advance further. So this is a message to the private sector. This is a message to corporations and entities. There is a way to give back, and there is a way to do good aligned with your business goals without giving monetary funds, without signing that check. Definitely funding is important because it continues and develops the mission of UNICEF and other entities on ground, and it keeps it alive. However, there's so many other ways if you are not able to make that check and to give that funding. So it's just an eye-opener of different ways, of creative ways, of innovative ways of giving back. Thank you so much, Dr. Shobo. If you have anything to add, Iti, on Dr. Shobo's point before we close our panel, because I believe we're way above our time.
I'm sorry, and that's partly my problem, my fault, because Irish people tend to talk quite a lot when they're passionate about things. So one thing I would just like to add is that I think just how we're all here together this evening demonstrates the power of partnership and the importance of the private sector. And in our programs in Jordan, we couldn't do what we do without the support of the private sector. And having people coming to visit, like the leadership circle last year, and having women who have, who are inspiring entrepreneurs, who are very innovative, who provide some amount of advice or mentoring, all of these things make a huge difference to have that direct connection with some of the most vulnerable women and girls that we work with. So I would say that the support from the private sector would be maybe when they're looking at their supply chains, to push much harder in sourcing produce from maybe more sustainable procurement, and making sure that across their supply chains that women and girls are respected, that the companies have family-friendly policies, they have women sitting on the boards, that the women in the companies are given fair and equal treatment and pay, and that in COVID-19 as well, that there's special recognition of the extra burden that a lot of women carry in terms of the unpaid work, the caring burden. They're taking care of sick people, of children, maybe of their parents, etc. So they're just some of the small ways that I would say that we would continue to look for support, and definitely mentoring, and even having a video call, a Zoom call every now and then with a group of girls in the camps makes or in the host community, does make a really huge difference. So thank you.
Absolutely. I think we're all very inspired. Our hearts are smiling. I mean, I can definitely speak for myself when I saw the pictures, and I believe this is what we need. It's the best marketing tool, by the way, and it's the best PR tool, is to have storytelling, successful stories, inspiring stories, because these are the stories that will inspire others to say, oh, okay, so there is an impact. This is wonderful. Let me see how I can further help. So I believe we had a question from yes, please write your questions. So I thank you all for your motivation. If we have a question, I would really like to ask you to write it in the Q&A column or in the chat so I can read it out. This will be, I'm afraid, the last question before we close this very interesting and inspiring and very knowledgeable, in fact, panel. I feel like we can talk more and more about, gender issues when it comes to vulnerable communities, and especially during conflict times, things arise. But I also feel that with challenges, there are so many opportunities, and people tend to be extremely resilient. And in fact, they have so many stories to tell. I mean, they are the superheroes when it comes to rising above the occasion, and we can learn so much from the questions. I would like to thank our panelists, Dr. Shobo Jalal and Ms. Iti Higgins. I'm very honored, and it was such a pleasure to have moderated this panel. It was very, very insightful. In fact, yes, someone said, thank you, very insightful session, very inspiring, motivating, You know, the comments keep coming on and on. I truly thank you for the bottom of my heart, and I would like to thank you on behalf of everyone for taking care of the community and being on the ground. There was one question, very, very briefly. I will not ignore it because it's a very important question. Is there anything being done for women with disabilities? If we can answer this question briefly, because it is quite important, and I know that there is, and then we. Who would like to take that question?
I'm happy to answer that, Mariam. Just to say that we do have, it's a really important question, and thank you to the colleague for asking. We have, across our programs, we make sure that women and girls living with disabilities are actually given the opportunity to get both an education and to get economically involved. And in fact, to be honest with you, on Saturday, I'm going to visit a 12-year-old girl who is living in an informal tenant settlement whose hearing aid actually broke during the lockdown, and she wasn't able to get it repaired. So we're going to visit her and get her new, so she wasn't able to hear her lessons for the WhatsApps and the remote learning. So we're going to visit her on Saturday and do a whole check for her family, but also make sure she gets a new hearing aid. And our mask production line as well is employing at least 10 women who are living with disabilities as well. So definitely a really important question, and they are the most vulnerable.
Yeah, I wanted beautiful. To add, if you allow me, I just wanted to add also, so we're not only looking for the disability from their needs, but we're also looking towards engaging them in programs. In fact, UNICEF last month we have had a reopening the school webinar where we had the voices of young disabled girls who participated in that webinar, and they shared their experience of distance learning for the COVID, and they actually provided some recommendation to the key stakeholders to address the issue of disability during the COVID time. So we're also having some engagement also opportunities for them to be part of the program design and part of their to ensure that we don't miss their voices in planning.
Of course, thank you so much for adding that, because it is a very important point. It's not that we only provide them with services, but also engage them and have them included within the programs, which I am sure that UNICEF is very keen on giving them a big role when it comes to the community development. I thank you once again, Dr. Shubu Jalal and Ms. Iti Hickens. It's been wonderful. It's been inspiring. It's been so hopeful and optimistic and positive. Thank you so much for everything that you do for the community. We are behind you. We are supporting you, and we're here for you as partners and as advocates and as women leaders as well. So you can count on us for sure. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Now I would like to move to our next fireside chat with the very inspiring and dear friend, and someone who I really look up to when it comes to the beautiful balance between being a human being, being a female that is elegant and feminine, but also being a very strong businesswoman and a philanthropist. Really, it gives me great pleasure to be not moderating, but just to have the fireside chat with Miss Inji Shalhoub this evening. Ever since 2013, as the designer and artistic director of ready-to-wear Parisian label Inji Paris, Inji Shalhoub has constantly enriched the brand with her cross-cultural expertise and her dual DNA, a notable Asiatic which stems from the Oriental refinement of her original culture and is enhanced by the sophistication of Paris, her beloved city. Designed in Paris and created in both French and Italian workshops, the brand's essence rests stressed on the romantic twist, showcasing a style that is both resolutely feminine and bold, which is, it's phenomenal, because I hadn't really read this bio before I actually described Inji. Romantic and contrasting. It's amazing. It's so you. In cuts, volumes, you know, materials, intricate and easy to wear by day and by night. You know, the brand presents 4 collections per year, and it's meant for the cosmopolitan, the assertive women who are used to traveling and are attentive to international trends, but in particular to details and finish. And you know, the list goes on and on. I just want to say that it's such a pleasure, because you are someone who's very passionate about fashion. You're very passionate about you know, design. You're very passionate about what's the latest trend, but you're so passionate about doing good and mixing your passion for fashion and your passion for giving back and helping to be your creative for our fireside chat this evening. And I just want to start off by asking you, what first led you and encouraged you to take this road, to take this industry, to start this journey? And who was your biggest inspiration growing up? And you know, not just growing up, but when you first started your mashallah, your beautiful business journey.
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present myself and to present my show. I want to thank also Sheikha Noura for this innovative way of communicating, and Eti and Dr. Shobu, who have been really very inspiring to us. I was also on that trip to Jordan, and all what they are talking about relates very much to me, because I was on that trip with the Sheikha Noura and with Jessica Kahawati and many other of the leadership circle. So even yourself, Mariam. So it was very, very inspiring. What to start about the journey? The journey starts when you're a little kid and you get inspired by a woman, another woman, my mother. As you know, she has been a role model for me, and she has inspired me a lot. And all what we have talked about, gender equality, is something that has always been in me. And when we went to the camp, of course, we were very touched by those girls and those ladies wanting to get over themselves, and they needed to have a mentor. They needed to have purpose in life, and it's true that. Since I was a kid myself, I needed to have this purpose in life. It's all about having a goal to achieve and to leave an impact in your society. Thank God I had a role model, my mother, who was really very passionate about fashion and who led the way somehow. So, of course, we were all girls in our family, so women had a role. Each of us had a role in that family, but it was always very tough as a woman, I would say. When I was starting my career, of course, it's important to have your skills, but you have also to have your leadership skills. And as a woman at the time, it was not an easy journey, because believe it or not, even in Europe, that gender equality is not there yet. Yes. So I had to fight my way, and I was blessed to be supported by a husband who was very understanding that I needed to have my own path. and not only follow his path. So this is something that is very important, as well as my children. But it's true that I wanted somehow to lead the way to other women and to other people somehow. It was very, very important to me that that I, you know, opened the path, because it is somewhere I mean, when there was no social media, no internet, people don't realize how difficult it was to travel at the time. It was not that easy, and being a businesswoman was not something usual. And even now, nowadays, even in the fashion industry, you have very few women. More and more, I would say, but it has grown more and more. But it is something that is. What to say about the past? It was like starting in the fashion at an early stage, trying with my double culture. You know, I'm French Lebanese, so having grown up in France, knowing the culture, bringing up all these beautiful brands to the Middle East, knowing the potential that was there, was very important as well. Trying to lead the way in Europe, but also in the Middle East, having that bridge between both cultures, and knowing what exactly to cater for the region. And then at a later stage, the cherry on top of the cake, which was really to be able to do my own designs and lead my own Ingy Paris shows. And every fashion show is dedicated to a woman. So I celebrate through my designs women who have had strong personality, who have led somehow the way as well, and who have also left an impact. My last...
sorry, go ahead. I have a question in my mind that is
Please
just
go ahead.
lingering and lingering and lingering.
So go ahead.
It's a question really that I've wanted to ask you ever since I met you more than 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago.
Yes.
You know, we all know Patrick Chalhoub. We all know your husband. He's a wonderful man. I'm not going to talk about him as a businessman because we all know, but he's also very, you know, he's someone that's very keen on doing good. He's someone that's very, he's a true philanthropist. And both of you together, you're really, mashallah, a power couple in doing good. I'm not going to talk about the business, but when you say that Patrick was really a very supportive husband, and he led you, you know, he empowered you, and he gave you the support to lead your path, because you also had a path. How is it, was it difficult to lead different paths on the same industry? Because it can be competitive, it can be, you're both in the fashion industry, and yet you did not lead on his path. You actually kind of took a detour and said, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to have my own company, and I will lead my own way, but together we're stronger, and together we're supporting each other. Tell me more about that, because it's so interesting. It's to find a couple like that.
That is very true, because the first thing when I met Patrick, he was always very supportive of what he knew I already worked. You know, he knew that I was looking for independence, and for me it meant a lot, because I saw a lot of women in our environment. We can still see a lot of women being dependent financially, and it is so true in our society up till now. Even if you're rich or not rich, it has nothing to do with that. It has to be like really something in you. And for me, he knew me that this was, you know, and I married the man who knows that this is me, you know. You cannot change me because I need my independence, my financial independence, my professional independence, and I need to be that woman. So yes, you have to be supported, and if you don't have that kind of support, it cannot work. So from the start, when I met Patrick, that was our understanding without having an official understanding, but it was clear that he was on the same wavelength than me, and he was encouraging me. Every time, you know, I would have a difficult time. We've had the Gulf War. I got all my stores got looted during the war. I had to, for a whole year, see my stores, my everything get looted, and start all over again was not an easy thing to do. And even though I had a difficult time, he still stood by me, and he said, "No, you're gonna make it. You're gonna." You're not going to give up, and and you're going to go to the shows and show that you're there. So yes, we work maybe in the same field, but at the same time we don't work in the same way, and we don't have the same. So each one has his own independence and his own. And it's very important to me that to have that kind of independence and to have my own way, and he has his own way. So I advise him and he advises me, and both of us we have a good understanding about it. So it's very unlikely, yes, it is true.
But it's beautiful and it's inspiring, Inji, because it's encouraging for other young girls as well to always look for the partner that will empower her and that will give her space. And it's a very important characteristic, because if you marry someone, or if you choose to spend the rest of your life with a partner that's not really true as a partner, it's someone that's constantly competing with you, constantly trying to take then it's not a partnership. And that's why I wanted to actually yes, I wanted to highlight that, because it's quite inspiring and it's important. And mashallah, God bless you both. And it's inspiring to see you as a strong, as I described you at the beginning, strong but feminine. And it's beautiful, because we need to remember that we are also still women, right? We don't want to be like men. We still want to be our own selves as well. I believe we do have a question from the audience live, and then I'm going to go back to my discussion with Inji, please. Sure. If the control room can actually give the question live, please. Hussein, do you want me to?
Ingrid, you may speak. Ingrid. Please unmute yourself if you'd like to speak. Otherwise, we will carry on.
Yes. Yeah, I can see some remarks. So true, that support from your partner is so crucial. I agree totally. And I always say it, without the support of others, not only of your husband, but of your entourage, your family, your parents. For myself, it was my mother. She was my role model, but she also led the way, and she inspired me, but also she encouraged me. And if your entourage is not willing to give you that freedom and push you, it is very difficult. And I always recognize that in my husband and my children as well, because as a mom, it's difficult sometimes to leave your babies and go for a long trip, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row without seeing your children. And so you have a lot of aspects that are not an easy aspect. And I got my job and I created my company before I get pregnant, so I didn't even have maternity leave. The second day I had my assistant coming to the hospital for signing some checks or for doing some correspondence. So I worked all my life from university directly to a job, and then created my own company. So yes, it's very important, this entourage thing, the family, the children, they have to be understanding as well and support you. But it is so important for women to have that independence. I am so much, and if I have to redo it, I will redo it. It takes a lot of sacrifice, but also a lot of joy. It's not only about sacrifice. It's a lot of joy to be able to stand by your beliefs and to do what you believe in and what you are there for, have a purpose in life.
Yes, yes, and to see it right before your eyes being realized, you know, hard work, when you see the impact, it you know, it makes you forget all the travels and all the airports that you had to catch a flight and run and take your luggage and sleep in hotels and wake up and think, oh, where am I today, you know? It's true. Are we ready for our question now, finally, Hussein?
Hi, Angie. It's Eli. How are you?
Hi, Eli. How are you?
I'm great. Actually, I have more of a témoignage than a question. I followed Angie like since long time, and I can witness like how much sacrifice she did for her career. But Angie, my question is, how at your turn you help these ladies, or like what advice can you give for a girl to start? Is there any way or any advice you can give?
Definitely, Eli. First of all, it's important that there is this will. You cannot create the will. The will has to exist. No one is born like the other. So when there is a will, there is a way.
But there is a way, but is there any way? عندك عالم منهم قادرين to do it. So how can you tell them who to approach?
Yeah, I know, and I was at the camp as we were sharing the picture with the Sheikh Noura for all these girls. They have a dream and they cannot do it, and that's why we are part of that leadership circle of UNICEF, to try to seek for ways how to help them and to talk about it and to encourage people to help. And the help can come in many ways. Like for one, you know, you have been to my fashion shows in Paris. I know you attend all of them and you're first row. But one of the things that was very strange to me at my fashion shows, I was contacted by other ONG who were telling me that handicapped children were not allowed in fashion shows if I would invite them. Every single time I did invite them and I put them in first row, if you know what I mean. For example, just by giving that kind of gesture, I mean, what does it cost? It costs nothing, but sometimes it's so surprising that in big companies and big names, they do not give them the joy of having to attend a défilé in Paris, a show. So it is so sad. So how can we encourage? There are many ways of encouraging. We can mentor. We can help them to seek for ways. We can I don't know, lots of innovative ideas. One way was this, for example, another images we did during Ramadan is to create innovative ways of helping.
There are so many ways of helping, and inspiring is important, Inji. You know, you mentioned that having events as such, you inspire girls, but then we can actually direct them to the right places where they can have mentorship, where they can apply for boot camps and for courses to start their own knowledge on how to start your own business. There's so many organizations in the Arab world, in the region, that can actually help starting entrepreneurs from the age of primary and secondary school. There are a lot of organizations out there like Injaz al-Arab, Enactus, and so on and so forth in so many countries. So I feel that if you want to do something, you will find a way to do it, because if you have the will, you have the power for sure.
Yes.
Inji, I think we are moving towards our final comments for our wonderful fireside chat. I just have one last question before we move to the live fashion show. What inspires you? And particularly, what has inspired you for this line of design?
Mostly art and women. Art and women, because art is a way of, fashion is a way to showcase your art. It's an artistic way. It's, even though a lot of artists will not agree with me, but you can get inspired by art, and you can. There is a lot of common things between art and fashion. And the other thing is women. I like to celebrate women. I like to celebrate women who have who fought their way. So this show that you're gonna see is about a woman who has had a lot of difficulty in life because she had an accident, and she was an artist as well as a strong woman who led the way in many ways. It was a woman who celebrated art, and it's for me, through my fashion shows, I like to celebrate women who have something to say. So absolutely. I hope you will enjoy that show.
We will definitely enjoy it. But before we move to the show, I would like to wrap up this beautiful event. Thank you so much, Sheikha Noura. Thank you so much, Inji, part of founding members of the leadership circle for the GCC. Thank you very much for our participants. Thank you for UNICEF. Thank you for our attendees, panelists. Thank you for everyone that really cares about advancing the agenda for girls, for women, and for children overall, and the mission of UNICEF. It's important to say that this virtual fashion show, I believe it's one of a kind, and it is purely in benefit of UNICEF. And this is the power of partnership. This is the power of giving back. This is the power of inspiring others to do more. So if you want to help UNICEF, if you want to advance the mission of UNICEF and help so many other girls enter STEM and enter entrepreneurship and start their own dreams becoming a reality, get in touch with UNICEF. It's not hard to get in touch with them. Start the conversation, start the partnership, and get to action. So I thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Mariam Farag, and it was a pleasure to host this event this evening. We will move now to the YouTube link, which we have on our chat at the moment. Enjoy the show. Thank you, Inji, for the inspiration.
And thank you, Mariam from UNICEF. Thank you so much, Mariam, dear. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the show.
Thank you so much.